Really? An entire lesson on an emergency reserve fund? But stick with me. I just might surprise you. First things first, what's a rainy day emergency fund? It's simply some money you've set aside just in case of an unexpected situation where money can help, such as a job layoff, needed medical treatment, or bail. Listen, it happens. So you definitely need an emergency fund, and most experts say you should have, 6 to 12 months of living expenses in cash. What does that mean though? Basically, you would make a list of your essential living expenses, such as rent, insurance, food. Total just the essentials, and the goal is to have several months of cash available to cover these. But most experts get it wrong when it comes to an emergency fund. The old school advice of keeping 6 to 12 months of cash in a checking account or a money market account is a terrible idea. So check this out. Consider a 30-year-old couple. They're doing their best to save for retirement and raise a family. They calculate that 12 months of living expenses is, let's say, $75,000. Like good students, they follow the standard financial advice and set aside $75,000 in a savings account at a bank. After a few high fives, they go on about their lives, feeling really good about their smart financial decision. It's too bad though, because they just cost themselves $1 million. And here's how. The difference between the emergency reserve savings account and investing it into this alternative account is a whopping $1 million. The alternative emergency reserve is simply to invest the cash in some kind of a diversified investment portfolio. But hold on, you say. Where's the rainy day fund when you need it quickly? Well, you absolutely should have access to assets, cash, or some way to cover these emergencies. But there are many other sources you could access. It's not going to cost you $1 million either. So here's just a few. A home equity line. If you own a home, apply for a home equity line of credit. If approved, you will get a checkbook from which you can write checks if you have an emergency. Another option, a 401k loan. Check with your employer to see if your 401k allows for loans. You can typically withdraw 50% of your balance up to a maximum of $50,000. Or if your 401k balance is $10,000 or less, you can borrow the full amount. Credit cards. So this is often the quickest way to access cash or pay for an emergency. Often even faster and more convenient than withdrawing cash from a traditional emergency reserve account. Another option, an investment account. As long as you don't have illiquid investments, that $75,000 you have invested can be accessed within a day or two at the most. Here's the takeaway. The takeaway isn't that having an emergency reserve is a bad idea. It's not. It's imperative that you have access to a source of funds that you can tap into very quickly. The takeaway is this. It's that if you keep your emergency reserve assets in cash or a savings account or money market account, you get so little interest or return on the money, I call this a dead asset. Instead, make sure you have access to assets if there's an emergency. Maybe set aside a few $1,000s in cash, but take the rest that you would have set aside and invest it. Over time, and in this case it was 35 years, there is a good chance you'll do a lot better than if you just set it aside in your checking account.